Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and cyborgs. This is Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab, the mercenary hardware hacker agency, and you are in my head. Welcome to episode 3 of my weekly podcast series. New episodes every Monday, except for this one, and new episodes on baking and hacking, etc., whenever I feel like it. Podcast, of course, deals with wearable technology, hardware hacking, and other things that I find fascinating. Today's podcast is on a Wednesday because, well, here in Jersey, as you can see, we've been struck with a ridiculous amount of snow, which has ground everything to a halt, and I have done, as a result, no driving. So I have taken I'm taking this trip just to record your podcast. That is how much I love and respect all of you listeners. Now, to the matter at hand. I need my note card here. So I'm going to the Short Hills Mall because I'm going to pick up a Pico projector. I'm going to show off a very cool project that I built to Robert Scoble next month. And, well, I got to get all the parts to wrap it on up. So on my way today, we're going to talk about when devices play nice. But a very cool topic, one on a subject that I happen to love. This deals with not open source per se, but open standards. I am a big proponent of open standards, and we'll get to why very shortly. So, really, the crux of what I'm doing, the crux of of today's podcast, is that when when standards are followed and devices just play nice together, they can create new functionality and new flexibility that the designers didn't intend. That to a user seems really obvious and can seem really sophisticated, or just like this is the way it's supposed to work. But no number of focus groups would ever have picked it up, and it's a really interesting way to do designs, and I really think the future is moving towards it. So without further ado, let's get started. I really thought of this concept when I was shoveling snow a few days ago. I had a pair of, I had my phone in my pocket. I had a pair of Bluetooth headphones. I put on a pair of Bluetooth headphones. I put on my Pebble, and I got bundled up to start shoveling. And after I put on my gloves and stuff, I realized that I had forgotten to start. I like to listen to podcasts while I do manual labor. I realized I'd forgotten to start it, so I go to my Pebble and I open its little music app and I hit play, and it's playing a podcast, and I'm like, I've already listened to this one, and I hit next and it starts streaming a new cast from Singularity One-on-One, and I realized, like, oh my gosh, I just inadvertently built, using zero effort, I just inadvertently built a wireless podcast receiver that I could operate with gloves on. I didn't go out and buy something to do that. This isn't a single-purpose device. In fact, the device doesn't even exist. It's the internet streaming functionality of my phone combined with the wireless audio of the earbuds combined with the UI and hardware control system of the watch, but combined together, it basically created a brand new device. I found that very interesting, and I realized that I'd become accustomed to doing that in a whole lot of different places. I combine the ability to put on Google Glass and say, okay, Glass, Google, remind me to wait, set an alarm to wake up tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm not sure if that, I think that was actually it stopped working since XE12 came out. And then my phone will vibrate and go crazy, like, creating this sort of voice-activated delayed alarm. It's very interesting because these things aren't really designed to work well with one another. I mean, the Plantronics guys who built the earbuds, I don't believe they ever spoke in depth to Samsung, and they definitely never talked to BeyondPod, the guys who made the podcast reader, and none of those guys ever talked to Pebble, right? The earbuds got the audio because they had the E2DP protocol, and the Pebble could control the phone could pick up podcasts because there's a piece of software written for it using its APIs, and that software could be controlled by the Pebble because it listens for music, the Android music control intents. And none of these guys knew about the other's existence, and not only did the stuff work together, but it worked well enough together to effectively create a new product. And what I realized, what I realized later, which was very cool, is that, for instance, I can have my glass connected to my glass can connect to my phone, which is in turn connected to this A2DP hands-free system in my car. So now I have this system where a call comes in, and I can answer it on glass. I can see who it is on glass, right, without having to take my eyes off the road. Then I can take the call in the car's system. And even then, this is only really touching the tip of the iceberg and only doing a tiny bit. Really, this is all, it's nothing but intense and standard Bluetooth protocols. But it was really cool that this type of functionality could emerge from it. I thought, why not go further? So, you can really nowadays, the more these devices adhere to well-known standards, and the more they follow good UX practice, the better they work together in sort of creating these experiences that that kind of cross virtual and real, and they also cross devices. And no device can claim that it has all the functionality. I mean, the Pebble can't play podcasts, and the earbuds can't. The earbuds obviously can't put glove operating controls on my wrist, but it's the combination of them that this functionality emerges from, and it's much better than buying a single-purpose device. It's really interesting because when you think about it, it's this almost reductionist approach to products, right? You start looking at devices not as a self-contained device, but as a collection of features that you can either use them together the way the developers intended, or you can use the features separately. For instance, let's say I put a Bluetooth low energy chip in my car, right? And I connect it to, I put this Bluetooth low energy chip in my car. And I write it so that it connects to, so that when it detects a certain Bluetooth low energy device, let's say my Fitbit, right? When it detects that, it knows I'm in the car, and it can turn on my OBD system and tell Glass, using an antenna, of course, can tell Glass to open up my dashboard app. Now, think this through for a sec. There's one piece of custom hardware here, right, which is the thing in my car, which is already there. It doesn't have the Bluetooth low energy bit, but I can implement that easily. The Fitbit, right, now, just by virtue of having nothing else except that it is a Bluetooth low energy device with a unique MAC address, now I can use it as an access token. Sort of like those RFID things, back when everyone thought they would have an RFID chip implanted to turn their lights on when they walk into a room. Well, guess what? I don't need to do that anymore. My Fitbit can act as that. And the Fitbit developers, had to do nothing to implement this. I mean, on top of that, they have this API, and suddenly I could put, a pedometer on my glass, right? Just by querying the Fitbit, or even running an API call on its proprietary software. This is really cool. Things like cross-device intents, which is to say a piece of functionality can be requested on one device and then fulfilled on another. Anonymous protocols, which I mean things like anonymous protocols being not something like REST, but something well specified, like A2DP, and iBeacon, right? These protocols can be implemented by anything, and it's sort of this contract that allows devices to be linked together, as well as open APIs. Things as low level as Android's intent system, or as high level as a web-based API for something like Fitbit. All these things allow devices to be linked together. So the secret ingredient to all of this, the secret ingredient that really tips it all over the edge is sort of easy scripting systems. Easy scripting systems, and by this I mean. If you think about it, a lot of there are really two ways that these types of cross-device really three ways these cross-device functionalities could be implemented, right? Either the user could build it themselves, right? Using a scripting system of some type. B, it could just be implicit in the functionality, like when I hit the play button on my Pebble, it will always send that command to a given music app, and that will play on whatever device happens to be connected to it. So I effectively strung this device together that I was talking about earlier, the podcast thing, simply by virtue of having a podcast about to play, owning a Pebble, and having these A2DP Bluetooth headphones. No configuration was needed. I would need to go in and tinker around with some stuff if, for instance, I wanted play to be sent to, my music app, or if I wanted it to be sent, output through the phone's internal speaker, but I digress. The point is that it's sort of self-assembling. And the third way is to have some sort of implicit configuration. I'm not going to go too deep into that. The first one's very interesting because typically, at one point you really have to build your own hardware in order to do this, in order to make one device that talks to another, or in order to make one device with a ton of functionality. Because, simply put, most of these devices, other devices exposed very little about what they did. There was always the analog hole, like, for instance, you could use a radio as a wireless receiver by just putting an FM transmitter. But, that's really a corner case thing. You certainly couldn't have your MP3 player, back in the day, if you had a CD player that you had an FM transmitter attached to, so, you could give your car a CD player. That didn't know when you press the play button on your phone, on your car stereo, right? But if your car stereo instead supported A2DP and AVRCP, implementing that type of behavior would be downright trivial. Old Short Hills Mall, is this relevant to me? I don't want to go to the Livingston Mall. I want to go to the Short Hills Mall. I think I fudged something. I'm getting good vibes from this. I may get lost, and then you guys just get a long podcast, which I'm totally cool with. That's why I set out in the first place. I got this pretense, but whatever. These types of anonymous protocols and cross-device intents, on top of that, just plain simple good UX that accommodates moving between devices. Not only does it allow you to link devices together, but it also makes handoffs very seamless. And this is really cool. This is something that's kind of been in the works for a very long time, but it's never really been fulfilled. And by this, I'm talking about, I'm sitting at my computer playing some music, right? And I get up and I'm playing some music. Yeah, I'm playing some music at my desk. And I get up with my tablet, which I don't use anymore because I got this awesome new phone. And the music then starts playing in the other room. And I go out for a jog, and the music keeps playing. And I go to my car, and the car stereo picks it up. And this is at one point this would require one company to basically do all of those, and you're probably going to be using their proprietary media player, which has features built in to accommodate all of this. Nowadays, it's trivial, right? If it supports AVRCP and if you have the right configurations ticked, each time one A2DP device disconnects from your phone, it will just continue playing the audio on either your device itself, or it'll just hand it off to the next available one. Which means that with no configuration or help whatsoever, and with these devices having nothing in common, and not, the manufacturers actually being predatory towards each other, like they would like to lock you in, but at the same time they know how you want your music delivered. By virtue of just using the same protocol, it just works, right? Handoffs are very interesting. This is really the promise of the Chromecast, a device that I find extremely elegant, is that you can start playing on one device, like on your commute home. You can start streaming something on Netflix. And as soon as you get home, you just hit one button and whammy, it's sent to your Chromecast. Even a protocol like remote control, right? Something that's trivial to reverse engineer. What the hell? I don't really know where I'm going here. Something that's trivial to reverse engineer, like infrared remote controls protocol, makes it easy to, like, for instance, use an app, right? So with Tasker, for instance, I could have it detect when my device connects to a Chromecast, and since it knows which TV the Chromecast is connected to, I could record it so that it automatically starts up my remote control app. Yeah, I'm gonna turn around here. It automatically starts up my remote control app tuned to the TV. So like I hit the Chromecast button, and I can now, control my TV's volume from my phone. It's basically turned my phone into this extremely powerful kind of mixed device remote control. Now that's universal remote control. This is great functionality. It's great UX. It makes it cuts the cost of switching between two devices, of like buying one device and replacing an old one seamless, which to a hardware manufacturer seems weird, right? Or rather, it seems counterintuitive. How would that make you buy more, right? But remember that in a place where switching costs exist, no one wants to switch, and that's a double-edged sword, right? It cuts other companies and you. If in the old school proprietary world, if you had a Sony TV and I'm gonna use Samsung because I hate them now. If you have a Samsung a Samsung MP3 player and a Samsung car audio unit and a Samsung audio system at home and a Samsung TV, it would work well together, and you'd be less inclined to switch to a Sony. But suppose a person, like the majority of people, have a Sony TV. Well, guess what? In that world, they wouldn't want to switch to you. Instead, you can dangle this carrot which says, hey, guess what? No matter what Android phone you're using, you can always stream video to this. And people will be like, well, I might as well buy it and try it, right? There's no setup time. It'll just work. So you will get more people trying your product. At the end of the day, it returns the dynamics back to where they're supposed to go. If your product is better than the competition's, you will get more customers, which is great for everybody involved. It means that customers have real allegiance to you. They don't resent you because they feel locked in to using your product. They like your product and they want to keep using it. On top of that, it means that if your product plays nice and other people's products play nice, it makes your product look even better because, now not only do I get in my car and my music just starts playing, but I can also control it using the buttons on my car stereo system, and that's awesome. The features are really powerful. It's not 100% there yet. There are two things that really prevent this type of behavior from being things that people can really use often. The first is that it's sometimes now as of 2014, it's really hard to set these things up sometimes. I know how the hardware works, and I know a lot about the quirks and where to go to find out about these secrets. A lot of people don't, and on top of that, you shouldn't, right? If I want to get data out of my Fitbit, I shouldn't need to, log in. I shouldn't need to have the Fitbit app installed and sniff intents and all that, and, read the GATT server and all that. The two things missing from this are reliable APIs. The two things missing are bulletproof reliability and easy scripting. I'll talk about the second one first because it's just more approachable. Easy scripting is something that prevents this from working. A lot of times this type of functionality, your devices should try as hard as they can to anticipate how you're going to use your various devices together, but they shouldn't be expected to do all of this. How do I get to Short Hills Mall? I go there. I'm gonna turn right here. I'll see what happens. I don't think this is gonna work. It shouldn't be expected. A person should be able to manually override it, and on top of that, there's just plain and simple. I made the mistake here. There's no way that hardware and software developers can anticipate how people are going to use various devices together, especially when you consider that many of the devices that they're using with the product haven't even been conceived yet, right? Who could have anticipated the Pebble? The cool part is that there are devices that are there are services and tools and UX paradigms that are very extensible and very approachable. I'm talking about things like I don't mean the literal draw boxes that represent stuff and draw lines that connect them, because I find that those are very transparent. I'm talking about things like if this then that and Tasker, which lay it out in words and which give you drop down boxes. A big deal about, like, part of what makes programming so hard is that there are no drop down boxes. You have to type everything. In order to type something, remember, like, this is a problem with command lines. In order to type the commands to the command line, you have to know what the commands are. In order to know what the commands are, you have to know what you can search for. And that's a lot of it's a lot of tools that you need to, like, have in your hands before you can even do a baseline. On top of that, like, these bizarre graphical things, like, they're just plain confusing. But things like if this then that, it's very simple, right? It's English, and you're selecting from drop down, so everything's visible. It makes it very easy to string devices together. Sooner or later, some system like if this then that or Tasker is going to come into effect, and this system will be able to automatically sniff out a new device and figure out what it can hook into, and you'll be able to write in stuff or add stuff in yourself. And that means that as soon as you get a new device and you link it, well, guess what? Now you can write these really quick and simple scripts. You want your phone to start playing music when you get into your car? Well, just string that all together. It'll be very simple, and people use it. The second thing is these types of things aren't bulletproof. And something like this, an interaction method or protocol it's not being thought of the right way. Right now, it's thought of as just the way, like a way things are done, like a means to an end, basically. Right now, things like A2DP is thought of as a means to an end, but it goes deeper than that. A2DP is a contract. Many companies, historically, companies have used protocols because they want to avoid the cost of developing their own protocol. But even then, like, they need to go further. You should be using it because it's the way it's done. If you want wireless audio, you do not ever develop your own thing. You always use A2DP. And on top of that, you recognize that A2DP and these protocols are contracts, that 100% of the time, this will work exactly the way it has worked historically. If you need new functionality, you'd bring in a new related protocol, or, you think of this in terms of what's the way of there's this awesome term used in object-oriented programming, like subclasses and superclasses. But the point is that let's say I've got audio, right? I've got an audio profile, a Bluetooth music profile, and sometime in the future, a new form of music listening device comes out, like, let's say a car or something, right? So first off, old devices should work with the car. They shouldn't need to implement new protocols. Because if all it's doing is playing music, the old music profile should work. Perhaps the new music profile superclasses the old one, exposing new functionalities, such as the ability to tie into navigation buttons or something. I don't care. Point is, and on top of that, you need to be completely sure that it'll work the exact same way every time. It won't try to pause your music or something, and it will work. It just works. The just works contract, bare minimum, must be filled. If this device is a wireless Bluetooth headphone, it should work with any device that can output audio through Bluetooth 100% of the time for the next 10,000 years. Feel free to superclass it or something, but it's a contract, and it's a contract that enables devices to work so well. If you look at the devices and the protocols that have stood the test of time, I'm talking about things like here's a great one that you may not know about: DMX. DMX is a lighting protocol. So if you've ever been to an awesome show and they have all these awesome stage lights, they're synchronized with pyrotechnics and lasers and fog and all kinds of crazy crap. It's using DMX. It's using this 20-year-old protocol that just works. You can take any piece of AV equipment, any piece of stage equipment, and link them all up, and it gets the job done. Always works. The future is built on these rapid scripting systems, learning systems that, for instance, like, they can guess after a while that whenever your car detects your Fitbit, you're probably in your car, and when you're in your car, you always play music. So when it detects your Fitbit in your car, it should play music. And you also have these, and it'll also start coordinating itself better. It'll start understanding how different devices work together. For instance, it can use the accelerometer on your phone to cross-check your Fitbit and detect when one of them is drifting. And also dynamically string together these new systems and modify its own protocols to better suit the way you want. At the end of the day, like, companies end the hubris. Stop thinking you need to reinvent the wheel. Get over your not invented here syndrome. Trust that the protocols are well written, that users will switch to your product and experiment with your product and talk about your product because it uses these open protocols, and publish APIs because it doesn't diminish the use of your own proprietary software, because screw it, you've made your money on hardware anyways. There's more money to be made on hardware than software in the first place. Just end the hubris. Allow users to use their products in the way that the products should be used, and allow devices to naturally link together over a long period of time as T approaches infinity. Over a long period of time, as T approaches infinity, devices plateau off, like technological capabilities plateau off. It stops being about what new features this brings to the table, and it starts to become more robust. It's about how you can trust that this behavior will be carried out. Then things really get interesting because devices start working together. So I am Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab, the mercenary hardware hacker agency. I love building devices for my clients that use these open standards, because not only does it mean that you get your product on the market faster, but it means that your product will work with more things users already have, without needing to ask them to switch anything. You can keep using your fitness app if we're following the heart rate monitor GAP protocol. Anyways, that's the future. A future where your devices work harmoniously and kind of assemble on the fly into virtual devices that have never been conceived before. And I really hope to see you in that future.